A Lion Handbook, The History of Christianity. Marcion. Marcion was born in Sinope Pontus, on the Black Sea, the son of the bishop. He arrived in Rome about AD 140 and immediately fell under the spell of the Gnostic teacher Cerdo, who believed that the God of the Old Testament was different from the God and Father of the Lord Jesus Christ. The God of the Old Testament was unknowable. The latter had been revealed. The former was sheer justice, whereas the God of the New Testament is loving and gracious. Marcion became the chief spokesman of this message and introduced his own distinctive ideas. Was Marcion a Gnostic? He was certainly Gnostic in his belief that the physical body was inherently evil, and so he argued for asceticism and a docetic understanding of Christ. But he never supported the fanciful and mythological views of redemption held by other Gnostics. His garbled Christian views were firmly repudiated by the Church in Rome, and Marcion was excommunicated in AD 144. Justin Martyr asserted that Marcion was aided by the devil to blaspheme and deny that God was the creator of the universe. Tertullian wrote against Marcion about AD 207 and regarded Marcion as a formidable foe of true Christian doctrine. Marcion developed Cerdo's vision between the God of the Old Testament and the New. He held that the Old Testament God was basically vengeful and the author of evil. God was solely concerned for the Jewish people, for whom he was prepared to destroy all others. In contrast, the New Testament God is a God of grace and love for all, who disclosed himself in Jesus Christ, his Son. Marcion stated that Jesus Christ was not born of a woman. He suddenly appeared in the synagogue at Capernaum in AD 291 as a grown man. For he was not like any other man except in his appearance. He was a new being on the earth. Marcion's view of Christ was similar to that of the Docetists. Although he stated that Christ's life and crucifixion were necessary for salvation, he also believed that Christ's human experiences and sufferings were merely apparent, not real. Since creation was not an act of the good God of the New Testament, the Christian must reject the world. The body must be denied and discarded, since the soul and spirit alone are redeemed. As a result, Marcion rejected the idea of the resurrection of the body. Because he believed that the God of the Old Testament favored the Jews exclusively, Marcion rejected the entire Old Testament, and also those New Testament writings which he considered favored Jewish readers, for example Matthew, Mark, Acts, and Hebrews. He cut out from the rest of the New Testament what appeared to him to compromise his own views, including the pastoral letters, 1 and 2 Timothy and Titus. So he was left with only a mutilated version of Luke's Gospel, omitting the nativity stories, and 10 letters of Paul. He believed that Paul was the only apostle who did not corrupt the gospel of Jesus. The Marcionites set up their own churches, modeled on Orthodox congregations. They did not use wine at communion as a result of the ascetic emphasis of their teaching. Some of the Marcion ideas spilled over into the various Gnostic sects, and Marcionites were themselves affected by Gnostic views. Their ideas spread throughout Italy, and as far afield as Arabia, Armenia, and Egypt. In the East, they exercised a considerable influence for many decades. A number of Marcionite villages are known to have existed near Damascus and late as the 4th century. In the West, their influence declined mainly as a result of their becoming linked with the Manichaeans.